My name's Diane, and for 6 years, I was the one who showed up. Every doctor's appointment, every 3 a.m. call when Mom fell, every meal she couldn't cook for herself anymore, that was me. My sister Karen? She sent a card at Christmas. Maybe a phone call on Mom's birthday, if she remembered. So when Mom passed in March, I thought I knew how things would go. What I didn't expect was for it to start unraveling 3 days before the funeral, when I sat down to go through Mom's things and found her journal, with a page torn out. Not lost. Torn. Clean along the spine, like someone didn't want anyone reading what came after. I didn't think much of it at first. Grief makes you see shadows everywhere. But then Mrs. Alvarez from next door mentioned something, almost in passing, while dropping off a casserole. She said she'd seen Karen's car in the driveway the week before, back when Mom was too weak to even take visitors. I hadn't invited Karen. And Karen hadn't told me she'd come. I filed that away too. I had a funeral to plan. Then came the will reading. The lawyer, a tired-looking man named Mr. Hensley, cleared his throat and told us there was a more recent will, signed just 3 weeks before Mom died. In it, the house, the savings, everything, went to Karen. I asked to see the signature. My hands were shaking more than the signature was, and that's what caught my attention. Mom's arthritis was bad by then. Her handwriting had gotten small and jagged, hard to read. This signature was smooth. Confident. Wrong. That night, I started digging. I pulled up Mom's old texts to me, and found one from 6 weeks before she died, reassuring me that everything stays as we talked about, don't worry. I called the notary listed on the document, a man named Gary Petrelli, expecting a simple confirmation. Instead, he sounded evasive. When I asked directly if he remembered my mother signing anything, there was a long pause, and then he hung up. That's when I knew this wasn't grief talking. I had 10 days before the estate would legally settle. Karen, I found out, had already listed the house with a realtor, before the funeral was even over. I went to Mr. Hensley first, thinking maybe he could help, but he wouldn't return my calls either. For a full day, I actually suspected him. Maybe he'd drafted the fraudulent will himself. I was ready to accuse the wrong person entirely. Then I got a call back, not from him, but from his assistant, who quietly mentioned that Mr. Hensley hadn't actually drafted this newer will at all. It had come from an outside notary's office. Gary Petrelli's office. I confronted Karen at what was supposed to be a quiet family dinner. She didn't deny it outright. She got angry instead. Called me bitter. Then she said if I kept digging, she'd make sure I wasn't even welcome at the memorial service. That was the moment I stopped hesitating. I drove to Gary Petrelli's office in person, unannounced. When I told him I had phone records placing Karen at his office the week the will was supposedly signed, while Mom, by every account, was bedridden, his composure finally cracked. He admitted it. Karen had paid him to backdate and notarize a new will. But here's the part that still gives me chills. That torn page from Mom's journal? A week later, I found where it had ended up. Mom had mailed it to herself, at a second lawyer's office, months before she got sick. In her own shaking handwriting, she'd written that she suspected Karen might try something like this one day. She knew. Even before I did, she knew. That letter, combined with Gary's confession, exposed the whole thing to the county. Karen was facing real fraud charges. Rather than go to trial, she settled, and the house came back to me. I sat in Mom's kitchen the night it was finally over, and read that letter out loud, just to hear her voice one more time. If you've ever gone through something like this with your own family, I'd love to hear it. And if you want more stories like this one, hit subscribe. We put out a new one every week.